Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It is the fan forum for Newcastle 2, Manchester United 0. It is the therapy forum today. It is what it is. It was a really poor performance, and to be honest with you, it's a really tough one to take, but it was coming all game in my opinion. But I've got the forum panel of Charlie, Kev and Ricky. I mean, Ricky, I'll start off with you straight away, because we were watching it together and it was literally like hitting your head off a brick wall for me, in my opinion. You were saying at half-time, you know, at least we're still in the game despite how poor we played, but realistically, is there many positives you can take from that game?
The only positive you can take from it is Anthony Martial coming back and actually playing all right for half an hour. Funnily enough, it was 0-0 when he came on. Before you start getting stuck into Weghorst, we were actually drawing when we took him off.
Don't get me started on that Weghorst, please.
There's very few positives. Very few. But as I say, Martial's back, and hopefully, if he stays fit, we'll be a better team moving forward.
I mean, Kev, what did you make of it? For me, it was just like, I think Ten Hag got it all wrong, and that's not something I say often. Like, I thought Ten Hag got it completely wrong. I thought the substitutions were dire, and the midfield was just lost. I mean, how did you see it go?
I've seen it totally a very bad day at the office. In defence of Ten Hag, we've seen him on so many occasions change this team up with great effect. Manchester United have gone on to win games, but the way I watched that game today, from kind of minute one, I never really felt we were in it as a contest. You know, if you're a Newcastle fan, that's the kind of performance you would have wanted in the final of the Carabao Cup. You know, it did not come. They seemed well up for it. Everything, second balls, the fight, and for me, again, I don't want to make excuses. The midfield is a key area. I said when Christian Eriksen got injured, huge miss for Manchester United. Casemiro is just such a huge miss for Manchester United. I think that's the first time that McTominay and Sabitzer have actually played together today. Totally.
No, last game against Fulham, and they were dreadful.
Well, I was going to say, right, okay, but bad. You know, they're getting outfought, absolutely outplayed. It's a key area of the pitch. And I've said it before, Casemiro is what Roy Keane was to Manchester United.
You do realise
he's vital.
He played in the league, we got beat 7-0.
I do. Listen, right, we have had this before. 11 players did not turn up. We were 1-0 down at half-time.
Same today, though, it's not just the midfield.
That was a freakish result.
Not just the midfield.
Today was not a freakish result. You could see that what was coming.
It was predictable.
I do say, listen, Casemiro...
It is a team game.
It is a team game,
and all the
Casemiro
different departments
is vital.
of the team have got to play well.
Yeah.
All the different departments of the team. And it starts from the back, playing well, and then your midfield have got to play well, and then your forwards have got to play well. And your midfield come under more pressure the worse your forwards play, and your defenders come under more pressure the worse your midfield players play. But it starts from the front, and our attacking players can't get hold of the ball. Our worst players, without a shadow of a doubt, are the attacking players. Without any shadow of a doubt. You already think Weghorst is, and you agreed with me in there that Rashford's been horrendous. We can't get hold of the ball in the final third. So you're under pressure throughout the game, and your midfield are going to struggle because they're under pressure all the time. The back four's under pressure all the time. Like I said there, we did well to still be in the game at half-time. But the biggest problem is the attacking players, not the midfield players and not the defenders.
I really got to disagree. I think it's midfield. I think it's such a key area for Manchester United. We have sat on here on so many forums saying how blessed we have been since being subjected to McTominay and Fred, you know, season after season under Solskjaer, to actually address that problem, get Eriksen and Casemiro in. Man United look an absolute different animal altogether.
Well, we've got a super chat in from Adhi saying, what is wrong with Eric Ten Hag today? He started the game with the wrong number 10 and subbed off both Martinez Varane. And he said he was starting to think Eric Ten Hag out already, which is just ridiculous. I don't agree with that at all. But yeah, I thought
it's got to be a Liverpool fan or something like that.
The fact we were playing Weghorst 9 with McTominay in behind is honestly just depressing as anything. I'm not blaming them players. There was multiple poor performances all over the pitch. I thought Dalot had an absolute stinker, and I really like Dalot, but I thought he just got terrorised from St Maximin all game. It was worse when Anthony came off, because Anthony was giving some sort of defensive structure. Didn't get that sub. Out of all the three forward players, Anthony was the one that was making the most happen and got the ball most often. Without Weghorst, I mean, he just couldn't get hold of the ball, and everything was breaking down through him. Rashford, again, don't know if he's still carrying a knock, but I get why he kept him on, because he's a goal threat. But I don't think one pass that kind of came off today from his angle.
It is that is the manager's decision. You know, Rashford didn't go on international duty or play for England because there was an issue there, which I was grateful of in a way, because I'm more obviously a Manchester United over England. I want Rashford fit and firing, but that really is a decision that's down to the coaches and the setup at Manchester United to assess Rashford and go, is he actually 100%? You know, is a 70% fit Rashford still good enough to have on that pitch? He isn't, because we're playing Newcastle in a huge game at St James's Park. You know all the fans are going to be up for it. Every single one of their players, that Burn today, Burn baby Burn, whatever he was on, you know, he went full kind of Casemiro mode. You know, he's getting the fans going, flying into challenges and stuff. When you've got a player like Rashford, who's 70% fit, it's not going to work. You know, you're going to get absolutely bullied, and that is what happened today. So in a sense, Rashford's always going to say, innit, I'm fit enough, I can play, boss. Footballers want to play football.
Well, this is the thing as well. Obviously, Rashford's been a massive goal threat for us this season, and people saying, well, would you rather have Sancho been playing? I thought Sancho, again, when he came on, it's a tough game to come into, but didn't see anything far from him. Like, Martial I thought he was brilliant when he came on. Sancho again, just the same old. Like, do you know what it is? Like, the Newcastle players actually, like today, for me personally, first to every ball, so aggressive. I don't see that aggression from some of our players sometimes. Like, there is a lot of players that are like that. But it's like, Sancho, you don't look like you... I'm not blaming him because obviously we didn't lose because of Sancho, but there's certain players where you think just look like you want to go on there and you want to win it more than everybody else.
This is what I'm saying about Casemiro. Look at the performance he put in against this same team, yes, in a neutral stadium, in the Carabao Cup final. Casemiro, man of the match, head and shoulders above every single player.
I've said this numerous times and I get absolutely slated for it. Newcastle drew at Old Trafford as well, and Casemiro played in that game. And getting a draw at Old Trafford is not much different to beating us at their place. It isn't much different. They've got a draw at Old Trafford and they've beaten us away. They've beaten us at their place. There isn't a great deal of difference. Getting a point at our place is brilliant for them and poor for us.
Ricky, before I do these super chats, please just admit to me that the team is worse without Casemiro.
Definitely, 100% agree. But it's not that this is something that I got slated for so much. It isn't as big a difference. I've said this in a couple of other things. That when we got beat, people always want to talk about the players who are missing, and this is something else that I've said many times. Nobody ever wants to give credit to the opposition, right? The people always think, what could we have done better? Why were we so bad? You know, they're one of the best teams in the league. They're absolutely electric at home. They've got all the fans behind them. They'll beat better teams than us. I think Arsenal have still got to go there. That might cost Arsenal the title. It wouldn't surprise me one little bit. I think City have still got to go there. I'm not sure about that, but I think City have still got to go there. They're probably going to beat a better team than us at their place. Nobody ever wants to think, oh, they're a good side and we might have lost anyway. When we lost at Villa, when the new manager came in, and they've taken more points since the new manager came in than all but about 3 teams, I think. But it was the first day under a new manager, and Bruno was missing, and everybody said, "Oh, it was Bruno's missing. That's why." That's not why. It's because they were great on the day. I'm getting, it was because they were great on the day, and the reason we lost today was not because Casemiro played.
Well,
don't tell me.
I'm not using it as an excuse.
Don't tell me that they wouldn't have dominated that game just as much.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying we would have a much better chance of winning without Casemiro.
You've always got a better chance. You've always got a better chance with your better players, but one player doesn't make such a massive difference when one team is all over another team.
For me, it does, and Eriksen as well.
Well, that's more than one.
But I'm saying with Casemiro
makes a huge difference.
This is why for me Casemiro makes a huge difference. Let me just explain it, and then we can move on. Casemiro, no one can do what he can do in that team. Not anyone. I mean, Ten Hag clearly doesn't see Scott McTominay as a DM, doesn't see Fred as a DM, which he's not. I mean, Bruno's the deepest midfielder today, for God's sake. You've got McTominay and Sabitzer basically playing, more higher up the pitch than Bruno is. So then again, you're taking Bruno out of his best position, which is, for me, is a 10. Osman wouldn't agree with me, but it is as a 10. So you're taking Bruno out, so there's no creativity up front. I mean, Sabitzer's absolutely lost because he doesn't have someone who can lead him the way Casemiro can. And the defence as well is struggling because, I mean, you see Casemiro in the Newcastle Cup final, every time going over and helping Dalot with St Maximum, going over, he sniffed out the danger, did the same when Wan-Bissaka came on, he understood that was a threat. There's no one in that midfield with his intelligence that can do that, in my opinion.
I think he's the best player in the world in that position, so you take him out of the team.
Last time we were on, and I've double-checked this, I said if you look at our last 8 league games and the comparative games of 4 against 4, they're all similar strength games. And we took 5 points from the 4 games that Casemiro played, and we took 7 points from the 4 games that he didn't play. Right now, there is not, that included a draw away at Crystal Palace, including it getting beat by Liverpool. We got beat somewhere else where he played. Don't just think that if we've got all our best players playing, and of course that helps them more, but we've got a decent squad. We've not got a decent squad. All the teams that are in the top 5 or 6 in the Premier League have got decent squads. The ones who are at the bottom of the league are the ones who haven't got decent squads.
I don't think we've got a good enough squad, not all.
It's not good
We don't have a good squad.
It's not good enough for us because we're Manchester United. I agree with that. It's not good enough for us, but it is still a decent squad. We can give anybody a game. Look at the teams we've beaten at home this season. Liverpool, Arsenal, City.
Newcastle's starting midfield is much better, higher quality than ours today.
The thing is, we're not far off. You know, if Erik ten Hag can have a good summer, hopefully if the club can be sold and there's investment, and you look at Weghorst in the first half, a huge chance in the game, and it was kind of against the run of play. You know, he's made the wrong decision. You know, he's hit the side netting with a shot. Now, if he squares that to Rashford, it's a tap-in. If he's prolific, which he clearly is not as a goal scorer, you know, he's not a Harry Kane or in that kind of terms, a player that's actually puts that ball in the net. It's fine margins, isn't it? But listen, positivity-wise, Manchester United, I think, have overachieved already this season. We find ourselves in the top 4 and we've won the Carabao Cup. I didn't have us down for that at the start of the season. I really thought this season was about consolidating and getting top 4. So in that sense, I do think Ten Hag has overachieved.
Well, we'll get into it a bit more. I'm going to bring Charlie in because I don't know who's had time to come in yet. And just let me read a few super chats first because there's so many coming in. And SK has said it's midfield. We've been calling it a couple of weeks. We need to go to the youth or even Lindelof CDM. We have no options. That save by David De Gea was world class. Same Miasi said if Spurs win, you go 5th. Please don't remind me. We do have a game in hand on that though. We do have a game in hand on that. It's just scrolled down and I've lost them all for God's sake. I've just lost a load of super chats because it just automatically scrolled down, so I'm sorry on that. Thomas Regular says, Ricky has had a bigger stinker than McTominay. Welcome to the... God, I can't pronounce that name, but welcome to the United Stand Members Club. And then we've got a few coming at the top as well. And I'm the Truth said, I said it since the defeat against Liverpool. Ten Hag was exposed. We were lucky. Luis Enrique or Tuchel should be here. Newcastle should have won 5-0. Again, I can't agree with you, but everyone has the right to an opinion. And yeah, I think that's about it that I can read off now. If I've missed any, I am really sorry. But just to stay on this topic for a tiny bit longer, because I want to have your say on it, Charlie. I mean, obviously you've heard Ricky's thoughts, my thoughts, Kev's thoughts. What is your opinion on the Casemiro situation and the midfield as a whole? Because, you know, Sabitzer again today. Do you think, you know, are we sometimes thinking the players are better than what they are?
Well, I mean, apologies, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I sound a bit odd. But no, I think it's quite easy to get carried away with lone players, and obviously you're going to play better when you play with better players, right? So when Sabitzer has been playing with Casemiro, you've seen the best out of Sabitzer, right? But almost what you want is when he hasn't been able to play, when he is playing with Scott McTominay or Fred or whoever, you want to see the performances still come out of him then, right? Because then you know, yeah, we've got a player that doesn't have to play with other good players to be good. I mean, can we add him as a squad player? Like, it depends on obviously like budgets and everything like that. I'd be happy for him to be part of the squad. I think it's just difficult now with Tuchel obviously coming into Bayern and he's wanting everyone back. But no, Casemiro wise, I think Casemiro is unbelievable. He's a great player. He is exactly what we have needed for however many years. We've been crying out for a CDM, traditional CDM, and he's actually doing what he didn't need to do at Real Madrid because obviously he had Modric and Kroos, right? He just had to be the destroyer. Those guys could be the creative kind of passer, and that is why you'll see Casemiro give away sloppy passes and try these cross-field balls that he wasn't realistically doing at Madrid because he didn't need to, right? So now he's almost taken on a role, and Erik ten Hag, I think, is trusting in him to take on another role that isn't just the destroyer. There is a little bit of, a little bit of creativity in there. He scored a few goals this season as well. He scored 4 or 5 goals, a few assists as well. So it's clear. It is obvious that we are worse when he isn't in the team, I think.
And I wanted to ask this question as well, because I've been thinking about it, especially this game, and I don't think I can put it back to the back of my mind any longer. A lot of people saying we need a number 8 in the summer, desperately need a number 8. In my opinion, we need 2 midfielders, because I don't think Sabitzer is good enough to be a starter unless it's maybe alongside Casemiro. I'd like him a lot, but I just don't think he's good enough to be that starter. We need a ball carrier, and we need someone that can come in and when Casemiro isn't available to play, because the drop-off is just insane, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's clear that we need someone that is a ball carrier. Christian Eriksen isn't a ball carrier, is he? He's almost like a deep lying playmaker, isn't he? That he does like to get the ball off the back four and then spread play and create. But then again, people have their issues with him in terms of physicality and stuff. I mean, is what it is. People defend in different ways. He's obviously very smart, so he covers areas of the pitch very well. But we can sit here for hours and hours talking about what we need. Some people want a number 8, some people want to maybe a number 10, so Bruno can drop back into a number 8. There's loads of different options out there, but we just need to be smart. There's so many options. Frankie de Jong, obviously, Bellingham, whoever. If we can't go and get them, there's so many options who are cheaper, younger, who, yes, you're taking a bit of a punt on, but you're only spending 15, 20 million.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why I'm saying about this area being a key area. You watch a game like yesterday, Manchester City against Liverpool, it's a total mismatch, The riches that Manchester City have in that midfield, to have the likes of Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri, they have that midfield. Now, the minute you take Casemiro and Eriksen out, it's a huge thing. Eriksen is a player that's kind of in the Paul Scholes kind of mould, I look at. He is able to slow the game down and speed it up. And we got some breaking news, Beth. What's going on?
It's not breaking news. I've just seen something that Ten Hag said, and I want to put it to you guys. If you don't mind, Kev, you can carry on with this point. Ten Hag has said to the media, which is very brutal. It's a brutal thing to say about any set of players. He said, "It hurts me to say, but the other team today had more passion and desire than us." That's a lot to put on your players.
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think it's obvious.
I think that's a big criticism, though, because if you're a player, you don't want to be called out for not having the passion and desire.
I said they looked like they wanted it more. They were flying into challenges. That burn was getting the crowd going. That was like their cup final today.
At home, and they're a big club with big manager.
Yeah, they've got big aspirations and that.
For the manager to come out and say that, though, I think I think he's out of order. I think he's right, but
he might be right, but he's out of order, and I think we've been down this road before, haven't we? With managers openly criticising players, and you don't want you need your players on your side next time you turn out. You know what I mean? I think I'm not sure.
Is it any different to what Sir Alex Ferguson would have done if he'd have stood and witnessed that performance today? If you've got your troops ready, sent them out, you've tried mixing it up, would he have not come out with a similar thing? It's psychology in a way, isn't it? What can he say after that?
I mean, he doesn't do it every week, does he?
It wasn't it just wasn't our day today. We've lost 2-0. He'll be fuming.
Some managers do that, don't they? Some managers will come out and go, it just wasn't our day, or this, that, and the other.
Well, exactly.
Wrong.
Ollie would just
sometimes you need a reality check, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to go back to them days of Solskjaer saying we tried?
Should I bring the
give it a go?
Let me read your super chats and I'll let you bring it in. SK says, "I'll put it this way: without Casemiro, you have to change the pivot. Change to a pivot. You literally have to change formation with any other combination in our team without him." And then we've got another super chat here from Alex Marmon saying, "Big respect to Ricky for chatting to me and having photos taken with me on Wednesday after the London show. What a nice guy and very approachable too." That's not lovely, isn't it? You might not think that after he says his next point. Because I know what's coming. Actually, one last super chat. Stephen Ross says, "Are you kidding me? Erik ten Hag was 100% right to call the players out after that performance." I agree. He should call them out. It's just a big statement to put on for the players, which I think's right. But I'm glad he has called it out. But Ricky, he has an interesting point that when we were watching the game together, I just sat there and I just said, I can't listen to this anymore. But what was it?
Right, here we go. We've played 27 games. We've got 50 points. This time last season, after 27 games, we had 47 points. The season before that, we had 53 points. 47, 50 this year, 53 the year before last. there's hardly a difference. You know, it's a little bit worse than what the season before. It's a little bit better than last, but hardly anything. Hardly anything. In fact, there is a bang-on average over the 3 seasons of 50 points a season, and we're on 50 points. So, now then, the amount of money, again, spent, because I know they're not all these players, but some are. They spent a lot of money, and everybody's been euphoric, and I've been one of them, but suddenly, it doesn't look as rosy as I thought it was looking. I'm not saying Ten Hag out here by any stretch. I'm just pointing it, because it was somebody sent it me, and I've checked it now. Somebody sent it me during the game, and I showed it Beth. So I've checked it, and
so what? It's not as rosy.
Now here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. People could say, yeah, but we're doing a bit better, and we're playing a bit better, and we've won a cup, and it looks like we might win another cup. All these things might be true, but when you consider that the teams that I've just spoken about, and the way we're raving about Casemiro, about Eriksen, and it's been a bad injury to Eriksen, that's been a blow. It's been a bad injury to Martial, that's been a blow, him being missing, although he's not been used in previous seasons because the managers didn't rate him. This manager rates him. But think of this, the improvement points-wise, especially when you consider, and let's be fair here about how we talk about these players. You know, we're 3 points better off than we were with Maguire, Lindelof, McTominay, Fred. The difference isn't enough. The difference, the improvement so far this season is not enough. And by the time the end of the season comes, because don't forget, we're only on 27 and we're only 3 points better off than last season. So that might get swallowed up. You know, it's possible we could end up this season with the same amount of points than we had last season. I'll put that to the floor. What do you think?
But you also said the pennies need to drop onto the players.
Oh yeah, well that was what the person who sent it to me wrote, and it is my thoughts because I've said it on here many, many times. The players have. Look, I wanted you to really say what the lads thought about that, because once I mention that, what you're on about now, that'll kick off, won't it? But I've said many, many times, Bruno and Rashford are not good enough. We are not going to challenge for titles. We're not going to challenge for European Cups. We might win a League Cup. We might win an FA Cup. And all these players, some of the players in certain positions have probably been changed twice in the last couple of years. Lots of the players in other positions have been changed. We've got new centre backs. We've got new midfield players. We've got a new right winger. We've got young wingers coming on. You know, the only two apart from the keeper, Luke Shaw, and Bruno and Rashford are the players who sort of still played all through that period. Now, defensively, we ain't so bad anyway. It's creating chances, playing better, that isn't good enough. That's how the team is. And the person who wrote this to me said, Bruno and Rashford, what they're still doing on the pitch today, they're absolutely crap. They can't do anything. That's what was written to me. And they are the two mainstays in the teams, and all the other players keep getting changed. Is it not about time that we tried changing those two players?
Do you mean changing as in?
In somebody else? Well, we keep changing the players in the different. All the other players get changed. We've got two new centre backs. The full backs change between Dalla and Wan-Bissaka, don't they? We've got Casemiro when he plays. We've got Eriksen when he's fit. Obviously, we've got Sabitzer playing now, so we've got rid of. And I'm not saying here bring back McTominay and Fred, but you know they've been replaced. Maguire and Lindelof have been replaced. Anthony's come in on the wing. He plays most of the time, and there's no improvement points-wise. Before
we just kind of come on to that point, I'm just going to read a couple of super chats because there is quite a few coming in. So before we respond to Ricky's point, which I think we all get that now. Manchild says, watch Ten Hag when he said it, it's very light-hearted. And I don't know how he can say that light-hearted, but I will watch it. Anthony Tracy, Ten Hag's performance was as bad as any of the players.
Great shout.
Yeah, I thought Ten Hag had a really, really shocking performance. I'm not going to lie to you. But guys, what do you want to come back on that? Basically, Ricky's saying we need to drop Bruno and Rashford, and that realistically our points tally isn't that much better when Ollie was here. So what do you think? I mean, my personal opinion is I think Bruno and Rashford are two of the best players that we have, if I'm being honest. And I also think Ten Hag's just a different level quality of manager. But what do you guys think?
I think
my head's absolutely bamboozled.
So it would be.
The points thing for me is very circumstantial. Like, I get the argument.
It's a results-based business, though, Charlie, isn't it?
I do get it, but you know,
the teams at the bottom. You look at. We spoke earlier when I said how tight it is at the bottom. Shows you that any team is kind of capable of beating anybody. So in that sense, yeah, it has been a crazy season, because I said to you earlier, there's usually one team at the bottom by now that's on about 9 points, dead and buried, and then the other two are more, you know, you wouldn't know at the minute because they are taking points off each other. The thing I cannot get my head round is that there's been no improvement from last season. You know, it was how long ago were we all sat here after beating Barcelona, you know, 2-1, or we turn around a game like that, and I think the good times, listen, we're nowhere near where we want to be. But I do feel like we're getting back. I think that's a bit harsh to say.
I agree.
There's been no improvement.
Don't forget, this was sent to me and I've read it and I was shocked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's an interesting
actually,
point.
when you say
Is it not an interesting point?
Does that not show the league's getting it's a bit more competitive?
Possibly.
In comparison to a Bundesliga, a Scottish league where there's two teams that dominate.
Over the course of 2 seasons, though, Kev, it's a bit clutching at straws to say we've got 3 points less because 1 or 2 of the teams.
All right, we're where we want to be.
Big issue.
That's true.
At the start of the season, where would you have predicted United to finish?
Predicted?
Would you have predicted top 4?
I probably wouldn't with a new manager, no.
So in that sense, at this moment in time, are we overachieving, or are we where you would want to be?
It's a bit too tight. Yeah. Look, if we finish top 4, I would agree with you, but it's a bit too tight to predict that at the minute. If Spurs win tomorrow night, we're 5th, aren't we?
Yeah.
Bruno's also playing out of positions that I thought Bruno was terrible. I thought he was terrible, but a lot of the players were. But he's also playing out of position to accommodate McTominay and Sabitzer, who were nowhere near as good as what Bruno usually is in that position, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rashford scored 27 goals this season.
Goals with.
I don't know if
I'm not saying he had a great
still
game
be sat
today.
here in 4 or 5 or 6 years, because it might be 4 or 5 or 6 years. But until those 2 players are out of our team, we won't win a Premier League title. It's as simple as that.
No.
Look at Grealish playing on the left wing.
I thought
He's
Grealish
10
was
times
brilliant.
the player.
Yeah, but they've not got McTominay and Sabitzer.
He's just 10 times the player, though. He's 10 times better.
The different players.
Yeah, of course they are.
The different players. I mean, Grealish was brilliant, I have to say, and I think he's been brilliant as of late as well.
You can tell how good Grealish is, the way he moves with the ball, and the way he shifts it, and he lets people knock him off.
The reason I wanted him at the time, and there was talk of Sancho or Grealish.
Rashford's had some very, very, very good games this season. Very good games.
I don't agree. He's
scored
a lot of goals.
He's a very, 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 very good player.
I don't agree.
He's not. Today was a bad game for him. It was.
Tell me which game you think he played well in. I'll dig it out and watch it.
Barcelona.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Barcelona away. I thought it was brilliant.
That's not a bad shout. He scored a great goal, and he made a great goal in that game.
Should have had a penalty as well.
And Bruno,
or free kick,
I'm sorry, Bruno for me is up there for player of the season, and you're going to laugh at that, but he is.
Who for United?
Yeah, up there.
That's how bad we are.
I don't think he is, because I think Casemiro gets it, but I mean, he's been banned for so long, but Bruno has been brilliant. I mean, that midfield, he was bad today, but God, could you imagine a midfield of Sabitzer, McTominay and Fred? I'd want to hurt myself.
The midfield, this is why I said it earlier, is where you grab the game by the scruff of the neck. This is where games are won. You know, growing up, watching the likes of Keane and Scholes against the likes of Vieira, Petit or whatever, it was whoever kind of won that battle. Yeah, your forward players, you had whoever would chip in with the goals as well. I just think it's such a huge part of the squad, and for us not to have them players available today, I thought we just got absolutely bullied.
Yeah,
go on, Beth. Hit us with it.
People say coming for me for Bruno, player of the season. I didn't say he was my player of the season. I said he'd be up there for it.
I think the frustrating thing with Bruno is you never know which Bruno you're going to get. Like, you never know what version's going to turn up, and that can be down to so many reasons. That can be down to what role he's being asked to play, the players therefore around him. Maybe sometimes he doesn't feel as comfortable playing. Obviously, we've seen him play on the right, but we have seen him play well off the right. We've seen him put balls in the box. We've seen him play well as an 8, as a 10. But it is just finding that, being like, look, can you go out there and give me a 7 out of 10 for like 5 weeks in a row, rather than going 8, 5, 6, 8, 4. Do you know what I mean?
I get that, but also he's the one mainstay in that midfield, and he's switching who he's playing with nearly every week. 1 week it's McTominay and Sabitzer. 1 week it's Eriksen and Casemiro, which makes a massive difference. And Fred, he's always like, I think it's tough to gain consistency when who you're playing with in midfield is changing every week. But I do get you. He's not consistent enough.
There's an argument there that if you're that good, then whoever you play with, again, you should be, like I said about Sabitzer, you should be the guy, you know, making them players that you're playing with better.
This is where I say that Casemiro is the kind of general. Is that not testament to him? Whoever plays with him seems to, you know, do all right as a pairing.
And I don't think this is how they should be, but I think there is a mentality issue there when Casemiro isn't playing. I think that if he gets suspended, when we were all down in the pub watching the Palace game and the game before Arsenal, when Casemiro, if he got booked, he was banned. Yeah. As soon as that happened, it was like the players all knew and they went, "Oh shit, we're at Casemiro's not there."
Even we did, the whole pub did. Everybody went. Oh.
Yeah, but as player, it's different as a player. You shouldn't think. You know, I played for the first time in ages. Yesterday, and you figure out who your better players are, and so if someone gets subbed off or something, you think, oh, this game's getting a bit harder. But at the elite level, like that shouldn't even cross your mind. But I think it is. Some part of them is like when Casemiro's not there, they're not as comfortable. Centre backs might not be as comfortable passing it to whoever is, whether it was Scott, whether it's Sabitzer, Bruno, who's playing in the kind of 6 role, whoever it is. I think there is like a problem there.
I agree.
And obviously that's not right. You shouldn't have a mentality issue regardless whether Casemiro is the best player in the world or not. Like you're playing with whoever you're playing with.
Well, exactly. It's like, I mean, I don't think he should be playing anyway, but Arsenal's been without Partey a lot of games this season. I mean, City, if they play without Rodri, they can still win games. Like it shouldn't be.
It shows how important Casemiro is to United if his teammates reacted like that. And we did as supporters. You think back to, what was it, World Cup 90? When Paul Gascoigne picked up a yellow card, which meant if they made the final, he would have missed it. Gary Lineker goes over when Paul Gascoigne was crying in tears. He knew he was going to miss it if they got there. And it's them other players. They knew at that time Paul Gascoigne was on another level, and they knew that not having him in that team, hinders them. It doesn't give them, as much as an advantage as it would as having Gascoigne in the team. There are certain players, I know what you'll say, you say it's not all about the individual, there's no iron team or whatever. I do get that, but I do think there's certain individuals in teams that if you do take them out, they don't tick over.
I think my main point, Kev, my main point really when I say that it isn't as big a difference, what I'm really trying to point out is the games where we do get beat, especially against the other good sides and big sides. My point is, I'll be staggered. Look, we will never know. We will never ever know. But look, I mean, it's a good thing that he played at Anfield, just so I can refer to that. I don't think it's.
That was a one-off game.
Yeah, that was a one-off game. Of course it was, but it still happened.
To a different one, then?
But it still happened. Well, he played at Villa when we got beat 3-1 by Villa.
Bruno weren't playing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always it's this player. It's never that team are really good and they've had a fantastic day and it would have been really hard to beat them. Whoever would have played, and that we knew that was always going to be an hard game today. And, And if Casemiro would have played today, I'll be staggered still if we would have got the point out of it.
It's a bit of both. It's a bit.
Well,
of both.
It's like saying.
Of course, you need to have you need your better players to have a chance, but I'm just trying to stress how good they are, how well they've played,
do you think Newcastle,
and how difficult it'd be.
Do you think Newcastle took a bit of? They thought Casemiro isn't playing, like we can get at this midfield today. Do you think you can flip it to that point, and just the same way that in the cup final when Nick Pope weren't playing, all of a sudden we're thinking shoot on sight. Do you know what I mean? There is that part where, because again, I go back to when I'm playing football and I know, because just growing up you play loads of teams, you grow up with loads of players and you go, oh, he's not playing today, like, we stand a better chance today. Obviously they're going to be so up for it, they're at home, they lost in the final. That was, as much as you never want to lose, that was a very predictable loss for me today. As much as I didn't, when we're doing our predictions, I said a draw, I thought we were going to draw 1-1. It wasn't a surprise, in all honesty, that we did lose that game. I just thought it was first game back after international break. Things, Rashford carrying a knock possibly, Casemiro suspended, it was just like, if there's a game you lose,
the way so many fans are talking about him, it's almost as if they think we can't have a bad result if he plays. We drew at Palace when he was playing. We drew at home with Newcastle when he was playing. Yeah. We drew at home. I know we got sent off. We drew at home with Southampton when he was playing. We got battered at Liverpool when he was playing. We got beat 3-1 at Aston Villa when he was playing. You can have bad results when
I just think he's an important part of the team.
I agree. I do agree. But
you've got to look at the
people just
as well,
think.
though.
the way people bang on and on and on, they seem to think that if he plays, we can't lose.
You've got to look at the performances. You've got to look at the performances, though. I think this was one of the worst performances I've seen, genuinely.
Under Ten Hag.
Yeah, one of the worst.
And that's why he's right to come out with them
You probably said that after we got beat at Villa Park.
We should have been down.
At Villa Park,
we should have been down by half time.
At Villa Park, weren't we 2-0 down?
If that ended 5-0 today, you'd have
3-0 down in 40 minutes.
Anyway,
45
it
minutes.
is just, again, a mentality thing. It is almost like everyone forgets kind of what they're doing for like a 10-20 minute period, and then in that time you could be 6-0 down. Do you know what I mean? It's like everyone forgets that. Not necessarily. I mean, you pointed out before, right? When you are 1-0 down or 2-0 down, everyone forgets. Right? Okay, let's not ship for it. Like maybe if we're going to go and try and get a goal, let's counter attack rather than everyone push up the pitch when we've got actually Lindelof, who's the one centre back on the pitch.
If I may, Charlie, that brings me anyway in my mind. Like if we can shift on from Casemiro and the midfielders, the manager today. I said to you, didn't I, at the time? That was horrendous. I said the only thing that's going to happen here is they're going to score again.
I want to bring that up actually because
the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to score again.
We've got some on that. First of all, just got a couple of super chats. K-Flow says Newcastle have only lost once at home this season and they were still the better side with 10 men. I agree with Ricky to a degree. With Cassie, we maybe draw. And Glenny Boy says, if you're comparing total points, we only need 7 more points to equal last season's total. And for the season before, there was no fans in the ground. And then Paul O'Connor, a member for 13 months, says 8 to 9 months into Erik ten Hag's reign as our new manager, and we're developing youngsters better than ever, and the team is playing well. It is a process. And then I've got one in as well, and I wanted to ask you this, Ricky, because I'm really intrigued to see your answer on this. Can I just say as well, Bruno Guimaraes is unbelievable. I've seen a couple say that. He is an unbelievable player. But someone said, Alicia, would you rather keep Bruno and Rashford or McTominay and Weghorst?
Bruno and Rashford or McTominay and Weghorst.
You'd rather keep...
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. They need shipping out of the team. McTominay and Weghorst don't have to play every week. If our manager didn't have the option of picking Bruno and Rashford, I'd be absolutely over the moon. So I'm not picking them ahead of him. I'm not. I'm just saying I'm that desperate to see the back of them. Yeah, I'll keep anybody in front of
when you said about Cech earlier, I can't remember the terminology used, but Cech, like change them. Do you mean like getting rid of them or just like benching them and then see it, having people who are there?
Benching them to start with would be great.
Yeah.
But a bit like Beth mentioned, Bruno didn't play at Villa when we lost. You can't just, it's no good for one game. It's no good for 2 or 3 games. It needs, because we've been on good runs and bad runs with them playing and without them playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it needs to be for a spell.
Again?
I asked Ricky if he would prefer to keep Bruno and Rashford or Weghorst and McTominay, and he said he would, without a shadow of a doubt, prefer to keep Weghorst and McTominay.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Oh God, I can't understand how that opinion is.
Do you know this man said before the show, I'm going to blow your mind today. Absolutely. What day is it?
My friends always text me and say he doesn't actually think that. I say he does. He does.
Oh, my head is spinning.
Those 2 players will not command a place in the starting lineup if we build, and there'll be squad players and they're half-decent squad players. But Rashford and Bruno, they expect to command a place in the side. I've been watching Manchester United since before you were born, darling.
Oh my God, here we go.
Long time. And I've seen us win titles, win European Cups. I've seen it all. Right? And we are not getting there with those 2 in the team. They've got to go. So my answer is, I'm not saying I'm going to pick those 2 ahead of them in the team, but if it means those 2 will go and they're not in the team anymore and then 2 are in the squad, I'll take that every day of the week.
Producer Ryan just said April Fool's Day was yesterday. If you haven't forgotten about that. Oh God. Yeah, but you say you wouldn't pick him over him in the team. I think you actually would. Charlie Max says, what a shambles, toothless up top, weak midfield, overrated back 4. People talk like Osman will fire us to Silva. We need to work on all parts of the pitch. And another super chat from Sultan, it's got to be an April Fool's joke. Oh, I've watched the game, Rick. That's the new quote. I've watched the game. Oh, anyway, let's move on to because Erik ten Hag actually, there was a quote come out and I wanted to get your opinion on that because you talked about the centre-back subs. Charlie, I'll start with you. Yeah. Ten Hag on centre-back subs, it was at the end, you risk everything, go 1 against 1 in the back, bring off your 2 centre-halves, bring a fresh one in who can defend with space on his back and bring an extra player in offence. You have to hope to turn the game and you have to try something.
I come straight in on that. Sorry, go on, Charlie.
I was just going to say, from my point of view, I guess the way he's kind of looking at it is you're losing the game, right? So there's no difference to a certain degree in going for it and losing 2-0 or possibly getting a draw or, depending how early you get the goal, possibly doing what Man United have done so many times in the past, nicking a 2-1 win when we shouldn't have, right? That's the only thing. Obviously, I was... When I was watching it, and I didn't really quite, because the commentators, I'm pretty sure, weren't quite clear on what was going on. And then I saw Martinez go off, and then all of a sudden they were saying Varane's off as well. And I was like, hang on, what's going on here? And then it was just a bit confusing. But when you look at it from the point of, you just go for it. What's the difference? In hindsight now, shipping an extra goal, and the game's dead and buried then, right? And of course, then you look at it and go, well, we're missing Varane, we're missing Martinez. Of course, we're going to concede. But again, if he did that and we went and scored, it's the masterstroke. It's the best thing he's ever done. He's a magic man again, right? It is just that we've got, unfortunately, hindsight to look at it now.
Yeah, it has paid off before. It's stick or twist in that situation. Like you say, what's the point of sitting back and going, let's see out? It's 1-0 at that stage. I know Ricky's going to tell me something.
If he doesn't make any changes, if he doesn't make any changes, and we still lose, then everyone will be moaning, oh, why didn't he change this player, that player, blah, 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 blah. So you basically, you are in to a certain degree, a lose-lose situation when you can lose the game regardless. We were losing, so if you don't make changes and you lose, then you get moaned at. You make changes and still lose, you get moaned at. But if you make the changes and you win, it's like, it's just one of those things, I think.
Come on.
Go on.
When you read that out, Beth, it broke me heart. I was hoping you was going to say, they were both tired, they both needed to come off, they had a knock, something like that. If that's his way of running a football team, he's clueless. You've got to stay solid at the back, and you've not got to just give the game away by putting too many forwards up the field and keeping too few defenders on. It's schoolboy. My 8-year-old grandson knows better. It's schoolboy thinking. I said to you during the game, they will now score. You're playing straight, you're playing into their hands. It's rubbish, that, Charlie, about putting extra players up front. If you've got less players at the back, you can't get the ball to the players at the front. You can't get the ball back. You've got more chances. You've got to have more midfield players and more defenders. You'd be better off with one striker. Because you've got to try to force them back. It's a game of attrition. It's a game. It's a territorial game. So by having your players behind the ball, you've got to gain territory and force them back. And then even if you've only got one striker, hopefully you can get into their half, you can move the ball around. How many times in the game did I say to you, don't shoot, and he's shot, or don't, remember the one Bruno crossed to the far post? I said he should have passed it to his right, and the person to his right should have passed it to the right wing. You've got to get into their half, you've got to keep moving the ball around, start shifting them around. We're shooting too quickly, we're crossing too quickly, we've got no patience. I'd lick them into shape, I'm telling you. We've got no patience. And then when it comes to that, substituting your defenders, you then can't get any territory. You can't move the ball around. Charlie, you know this, and you, Kev. How many thousands of times in football have teams got late equalisers without taking the defenders off? It's happened thousands of times.
I get that, but
you just need to dominate territory and then try and get the ball into their half. Then you've got a chance. By taking your defenders off, you've got virtually no chance. And there's especially taking 2 centre backs off and replacing them with 1. It was a joke. And I did say to you,
how long was left?
I said I'll be staggered now if they don't score.
How long was
there was
left
about 7 or 8 minutes left, I think.
The thing is, well, I actually didn't even agree with it. I just mean, I guess I can see a point of view when you go, you've just got to stick or twist, in my opinion. It's happened. You know, I mean,
previous managers have done this.
What else is he going? What else is he going to have?
If you think you've got more chance with loads of forwards, why don't we put 9 up front then and play with 1 at the back?
I have to say,
it's a 90-minute game, isn't it? So so if he took. Okay, you're thinking, you know, games of territory. You bring on Lindelof as another defender and take off Rashford or something, and everyone, I guarantee, maybe not yourself because obviously you have your own opinion on Rashford. Everyone would go, we need a goal, and you're bringing on Lindelof of his opinion to dictate a play and get it to whoever's up front at the time, Sancho, whoever. Like, obviously, we have the beautiful thing of hindsight, looking at it now and going, you know, it
wasn't hindsight to me.
Right?
Beth, you could back me up. It wasn't hindsight to me.
I didn't think we looked like
I just said
scoring,
they will now
so
score.
No, I didn't.
I couldn't see anything else but them scoring again when he made them.
Did we have a shot on target the whole game?
Yeah, 1, and it was Anthony passing it to Pope.
That's something else. I think that what I said as well.
But wait, can I just say? I think I get the point of view is, you know, people will think, you know, you've got more chance of scoring a goal when you bring on, you know, people that can score goals, like attackers. But at the same time, it was so obvious taking Fran and Martinez off and just putting Lindelof at the back that they were going to score. It was. Because you don't have, you know, Shaw and Dalot with them massively pinned back. You've got no one knows where they're playing in the midfield. No one knows where they're playing up front. It was never going to work. It was never going to work.
It was horrendous.
I get 1 or 2 changes, but Fred, Palestri, and who else was it? Like there was, and I mean both centre backs. I get 1, but both centre backs coming off was a step too far.
Yeah, I agree with
it's
that.
Not going for it though.
I know you're leaving yourself open, but again at 1-0, it's like, well, what have we got to? We're losing anyway. It's a bit like sending the keeper up at the end of a game. You know, nobody goes, down with that kind of thing.
I don't agree because I think you could still. There was still a chance of us scoring a goal, and you were also going to.
With what? 6 minutes.
With 6 or 7 minutes to go, you've still got a chance of scoring a goal. We were getting opportunities to bash on the pitch.
It didn't look like we were going to score. That's
Kev, I know there's only 6 or 7 minutes left. But I'm not just talking about leaving yourself open. Like we've spoken here a couple of times about leaving yourself open by not having enough defenders. I honestly believe you've got more chance of scoring if you keep your defenders on. Because you're going to win more ball and you're going to have more chance of attacking.
And I understand that, but we didn't look like it. Listen, if we were continuously going on the attack and looking like we were going to, yes, I get that. Change the striker, change somebody out on the wing.
Kev, the thing is, you're saying, well, it didn't look like. It might not look like we were going to score. It might not have looked we were going on the attack enough, but we did go on the attack. I remember the little ball that Martial put into the box, to the edge of the box to Rashford, and Rashford tried a little turn. I remember Sancho having the ball. So we did have. All I'm talking about, the people don't need to say in there, oh, that was shit, we should have done better. I don't mean that. All I'm talking about is literally that we did have the ball in their third a few times. So by taking the defenders off, we had it in their third less often. It's fact.
It's true. Yeah.
We had it in their third less often because we didn't have enough defenders on.
He's gambled and it's not paid off. If we'd have scored and equalised, we'd be singing his praises here and saying, what a change to make.
We weren't ever going to score.
As I said, it was.
With them changes,
I didn't know that both of them came off. I said, didn't I, that I saw Martinez come off, and then all of a sudden Varane was gone, and that was like, okay, wow. Sometimes, obviously, you know, we've seen Martinez come off in previous games.
We've seen Vegas playing a 10 against Barcelona, for Christ's sake.
It's all right.
Yeah. I'm not like,
well, yeah.
There's certain things that this manager has done.
We'll move on from this topic. We'll move on from this topic because there is. We're running out of time, and I've still got a few more things I want to bring up. Desert Haunter says, Ricky, would Casemiro have cleared that ball? Also, would Casemiro have left Dalot alone with 3 players? I've watched the game. And then another one says, from David says, Ricky, you're a genius. You know more than most managers and coaches, and a large majority of our fans put together.
Can I answer the guy that said, would Casemiro have left Dalot at the back?
Agree with
you know, where was Casemiro each time the ball went in at Anfield? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Again, it's
just still going back to that.
But people just think that you can't concede a goal. He'll cover everything. He'll stop everything. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you on that one because it is.
Where was he at Villa Park then? Each time the ball went in the net at Villa Park. Sorry, Charlie.
You're just trying to make someone trying to make you look a bit stupid, isn't he? By going, oh, would he? Well, he might have. Like, you
He might have, but you don't know, yeah.
It's hindsight.
Adley says Rashford left his head at home. Bruno didn't keep the ball in set play. Scotty played bunny hop with Longstaff and didn't open the space for passing or produce any good passing. Eric Ten Hag subs were suicide. It's not out
there wasn't one
God,
player.
That's an impressive Super
There wasn't really one player on that pitch today that you could look at and go, apart from Martial, maybe obviously when he came on, that was okay. Like, you know, this player played well. Like, they all dropped a stinky performance, most of them, didn't they? So it's like, you know, when you all drop a shit performance, you're going to lose the game of football, aren't you?
You can't.
9.5 times out of 10.
I could keep saying, Charlie, don't just disrespect the opposition.
No, of course.
Sometimes it's how they play that makes you play badly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they deserve to win 100%. Regardless, you know, we could have played well and they could have still played like that and beat us 100%. It's weird, you know, we could play worse than that and go and win the next. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can play better than that and lose.
Well, look at the Leicester game. You know, on the first half performance, we could have been 2 or 3-0 down at half time, and we end up winning that game 3-0. And on reflection of the game, I know a cliche that you say it's 2 halves of football. God, that was true that day, because at half time it only looked like there was one team that was going to win that, and somehow we turn in a performance. It wasn't a great performance, but we score 3 goals, and you look at that scoreline and think, United have done a job on it, but it wasn't
Scorelines
really.
Can flatter teams, can't they?
Not a true reflection of how the game panned out by any means.
Anthony Tracy says Eric Ten Hag needs a ball-playing goalkeeper, a striker, a right-back and a deep playmaker. I agree.
And let's just say, it could have been a hell of a lot more if it wasn't for David De Gea today.
You know what
I
saw on Twitter? You know that double save he made?
The
one where, good save first off, and then I think it's Willem just kicks it at him, and everyone's like, oh my God. Like, he doesn't even know about it. Like, he's literally laying on the floor and the guy's kicked it at him.
It's a shocking effort.
Yeah.
Should have just lifted it
anywhere else in the goal it goes in, and everyone's like, brilliant double save, David. Like, come on, like, you know.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to like point
I couldn't believe he got man of the match on the United Stand player ratings, if I'm being honest. He made two very, very, very good saves, and his saves were great, but I mean, the amount of crosses coming into the box, he's on his goal line every single time. They target us.
That was the first time in a while that I've seen a team outright from set pieces go and just surround De Gea.
Because they know he's weak.
Got some big lads as well.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, it was
obviously a tactic, something they've looked at.
100% they would have. Well, I mean, he doesn't, regardless of what you think of him, he doesn't come out and collect crosses when he can, right? So if you're going to crowd him, of course he's not going to. So it's
that Callum Wilson goal, I'm sorry, he has to come out for it. He has to. If you watch it back, you'll see it. But I mean, again, some good saves. But a lot of these good saves come from mistakes. That you know, and people sometimes won't see it. I want to talk about Weghorst, but I also want to bring up Luke Shaw because he's been talking, and I love Luke Shaw. I think he speaks brilliantly. I think he's a leader. I think he could be potentially a future captain the way he speaks. And again, he's come out and he said, I don't think they won the game on quality today. They won it on passion, desire, hunger, attitude, and they had a higher motivation than us, and that can't be possible. I feel I say the same things after every time we lose. It's really not acceptable at Manchester United, and it can't be possible.
It's absolutely
harsh words calling out his team again.
It's harsh to take because we thought we'd turn this corner. We've had this under previous managers. We've had it, Jose Mourinho questioning players, running, not showing interest. We had it with Louis van Gaal. We have had this in recent years. So I'm not saying we're reverting back to that, but the fundamental basics of football are certainly you need to be up for it. You know, you need to be flying into challenges and you give it a good go. There's that old saying of once you cross the white line, you know, leave everything out on the pitch. And I don't feel United did that today.
Surely the players knew as well that Newcastle were going to want revenge after the cup final.
We knew that. You could tell the atmosphere and tops off, you know, grown adult men with beer bellies, you know. And
Shaw is right in what he says, that he feels like he says the same thing every time. And that's bad in itself, right? It is the same sort of issue that happens when we do lose a match. You can almost pinpoint and go, look, it's not, we're not losing games by silly mistakes, and you can go, okay, you know, this is like almost like an explicit issue. It is like,
what was the game? Was it Everton that game years ago? Was that under Mourinho where we ran, or Everton ran something like 3 times as long as the United played? You know, that was just running. You're getting paid this money. The least you expect to do is look lively and run about. You know, for God's sake, man.
I mean, quickly before we wrap up the show, I wanted to speak about Weghorst for a little minute. I mean, my opinion on him is he's nowhere near good enough, and he's He's a big reason why our attacks break down. He doesn't offer much at all. Really just not of quality. But I mean, I thought like that chance in the first half, I feel like he has to cross it to Rashford. Why is he shooting from there? I just think it's so kind of it's so different when Martial comes on the pitch. And what did you make about that contrast today? Anyone can take that one.
Do you want me to go or?
Go
Yeah. Weghorst, I felt he was going to become a little bit of a cult hero when he was here. He really, in effect, I've said it before, that Ten Hag is kind of, with the ownership model and the way things are moving at the minute, that he was never going to get money to invest in the squad. So this is somebody who he knows. He's gone out, you know what I mean? He's not even good enough for Burnley. I am not discrediting him as a person, Weghorst, because I have sat here before. I've seen him playing the number 10 against Barcelona. I've seen him have great games, but it comes down to he needs to be scoring goals, and he is not doing that at Manchester United. The chance today, like you rightly say, you either have to be hitting the target or you square that to Marcus Rashford. It's a massive moment of the game to hit the side netting from there. It's a big opportunity. I've said it before, he's obviously not blessed with pace. And when Martial comes on today for the last half an hour of the game, you can see the difference straight away. You know?
I mean, I agree with you for the most part in that Weghorst is clearly not. It's almost a bit tongue in cheek now to say, make jokes about Weghorst. I think I said Weghorst would score when he joined would score more goals than Haaland for the remainder of the season. Obviously, that's obviously a joke, and we do these player things on TikTok and stuff, don't we? And I always say Weghorst, even when he's not in the discussion of like strikers who you'd prefer. I always say it's just like this running joke, but. You can still. I'm such an advocate for Harry Kane, and Osimhen. I just prefer Kane, but Osimhen, whoever it is that comes in, you can still drop performances like that as these types of players, right?
You can, but it's every single week now.
But is it? Because again, you revert back to like Barcelona. Like he has had very good games.
There's the one good game he's had.
He's had like there's been times.
There's not.
I remember
a few games away he played well.
I remember before one game. I remember you saying about how you hated Weghorst and like he wasn't very good, blah blah blah. And then by the end of it was Weghorst is brilliant, like all this, and like
that was probably Leeds away.
I'm not saying that he deserves to stay at the end of the season or whatsoever. Circumstances, we probably need, regardless of whether he stays or whatever, we probably need two strikers.
You can't knock the lad.
I'm sorry.
You can't knock the lad.
You can, Kev. He's playing for Man United and he's crap.
It's a similar signing to Igalo. Igalo come to United.
Igalo was better. Igalo was better than him.
Exactly.
I don't think he is.
He was
never more goals.
He was never first choice at Manchester United. Solskjaer tried telling us, this was the kid that he wanted. It's not good enough for United.
He's playing Weghorst every week because he has to. He shouldn't be playing.
But doesn't this come back to what we said earlier about the squad at Manchester United?
It's very frustrating, especially when you lose. It's very frustrating. But hand on heart, did he play any worse than Marcus Rashford today? Anybody?
Yes,
I think he was worse than Rashford.
Yeah.
You think he was worse than Rashford?
Yeah. And I also think it's worse because we could have sat there.
Not saying he was much better,
but we could have sat there for a week and Weghorst wouldn't have scored. Rashford has the goal threat.
No, well, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you how he played today. I'm not asking you what sort of goal
I think Rashford, did offer. I think he was better just because he offered more threat in behind and he did get in a few times.
So you're assuming he's offering more threat in behind?
He got in behind a few times. Everything that came off Weghorst was he's really hard to watch, and it's not as I don't have anything personal against the player. It's just is Manchester United. I'm sorry, watching him play up front is painful. It really is. I mean, you've got Arsenal with Jesus, you've got City with Haaland. I mean, he is really, really poor.
Well, look at the past strikers we've had at Manchester United. You think York, Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer, whoever, Berbatov, Wayne Rooney, Robin Van Persie. We're talking about elite, especially prolific goal scorers at Manchester United. And now that is the one area that the pitch. We talk about midfield as well. Don't get me wrong, but when we've got ours fully fit, Anthony Martial is the best number 9 at the club.
I was thinking as well, it's like Anthony put in a few really nice balls through to Weghorst, and each time it just broke down straight away, and I thought, God, if that's anyone with a bit of quality...
But there's no point playing a ball through to him.
That's what I mean. So players, they're there, but they don't even want to pass to him. Then when we do pass to him, it could be a good pass, it breaks down. Like, Weghorst got it in such a good position, all you have to do is knock it back, just bunged off him somewhere.
He's the kind of player, and it worked out well like the new camp, wasn't it? He's the kind of player when you need a bit of a breather and to get on the pitch. His hold-up play is second to none. I think he's absolutely brilliant at that. If you've got the likes of Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, whoever then that move off him. If he can hold up the ball, spin and turn. But apart from that, you know, he doesn't score goals. What else is it?
I don't even think his press is that good, honestly. I don't. I thought at first when I watched him press, I thought, you know what, yeah, brilliant press, and he's doing his best. But because the other team, the rest of the team aren't pressing properly either, the press half the time isn't even working. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. But he
That's
seems
what Bruno
like a really
did.
nice.
Bruno used to do that, didn't he?
He seems like a really nice guy. I mean, we've interviewed him on the United stand. He seems like a really nice guy. It's just, you know, sometimes, I mean, you're a nice guy. Don't mean you should be playing up front for United. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, Aki Keddy says Mainu should be playing. He would do a better job. Very tidy player. I think it's too soon to bring Kobe Mainu into the midfield, if I'm being honest.
I love that when people just automatically presume some 17-year-old kid's going to be unbelievable in these at St James's Park against Newcastle. It's like, yeah, throw him in. Why not?
Yeah. Jake Welch, the points show the inconsistency within the squad. And Glenny Boy, hopefully the club will give us some good news on the takeover front tomorrow to take our minds off today's game. Sometimes does happen with the amount of spin. And Abdi says Weghorst was way better than Rashford today.
I mean, it don't really matter. It doesn't
we
lost the game, didn't we? So
that was Ricky that put that message in. I've seen him with his hands under here on his phone. He's like...
They were both rubbish. They were both rubbish, if I'm being honest with you. And a lot of people saying read the super chats. I'm reading everyone that's popping up. If they're not on my screen, I can't read them. But I am really trying to. And anyway, let's finish off the show. Let's round off the show because we are an hour in now. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes got man of the match for Newcastle,
so
and he deserved it too. He was brilliant, but. I mean, we'll talk about who was the best player for Man United. So, Charlie, I'll start off with you.
Wow.
Martial, probably, when he came on. Honestly, I'd struggle to think of someone else just off the top of my head. Probably Martial.
Do you know what? I think I have to tend to agree with that. And that probably tells you everything.
Got to make it an hat-trick, haven't I?
I'm certainly not being influenced by the fact that Ricky's next to me.
I was so close to saying something probably just stupid because I forgot that Martial even came on. But yeah, no,
and listen, Martial didn't have a blinder. You know, he come on, did bits, all right. Yeah. But I think that tells you more about the rest of the Manchester United players out there.
How long did Martial get?
Just virtually half
an hour.
Yeah, there's no way that a player coming on for that length of time should be going.
So there was
he was our best player.
There was other players on that pitch for an hour.
Especially when we weren't actually losing when he came on as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's not saying on again. As you say, he was playing really, really well. But
see, we took Weghorst off and we get beat.
Ricky?
Yeah, you said that.
You said Martial.
It's a hat-trick.
I personally, I mean, I thought Martial was brilliant when he came on, but I'd reluctant to give it to a player that comes on for 30 minutes. But I actually thought Anthony was the best forward player in the first half.
Yeah.
One of his better games.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was really struggling because there was virtually no options for him every time, and you know the other forward players were rubbish, as you would say. And you know, I thought he's the best forward player. I don't think he deserved to get subbed. You could tell he was annoyed. It's coincidental, but as you said, you know, Dalot gets done by the right side, and they end up conceding after he comes off. I just didn't think it was the right substitution, to be honest. I also thought Martinez was pretty good as well, but apart from that, Varane should have done better with the first goal. There was really nobody, but yeah, I mean, I can agree with Martial, but I'd probably go with Anthony, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But
if I'm not having Martial, I go Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw didn't do much wrong.
Well, we've told you, you're banned from giving Luke Shaw man of the match.
Yeah, if you say Luke Shaw, it's whoever was next.
Every single time.
Are we touching on Brentford on Wednesday before we go, or haven't we got time? That's it.
You can touch on it pretty quickly. Yeah. All I'm going to say is I am bloody worried.
It's going to be a hard game.
Yeah, it will be.
It's at home, thank God. If it was away, I would honestly be convinced that it's going to be a loss. But
just quickly, how long has Casemiro got left on his ban?
Two more games.
So Brentford and then who do?
Everton on Saturday.
Okay, both at home. Interesting.
Anything you want to say about Brentford before I wrap it up?
I'll be looking forward to his starting line-up and see if Martial starts now that he's got half an hour under his belt.
Another week of training as well.
And if he starts, I said this last week and you laughed, wouldn't surprise me one bit if Martial starts that Weghorst plays at 10. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. Let's see.
It would surprise me.
I mean, Ricky today, he was talking about substitutions and he said, I'd bring Bruno off, drop Weghorst into 10. I'm like, you bring Rashford off for Martial, something like that. I can't remember, or Sancho or something. But yeah, I mean, everyone looks at the game pretty differently. But I'm worried about Brentford, but also we're much better at home. And as people say in the chat, we usually come off an international break poorly. Like that is a usual occurrence for us, which it shouldn't be. It's not an excuse. But, I mean, St James's Park, as we say, is a really tough place to go, but not good enough. Luke Shaw summed it up. I mean, passion weren't there, the desire weren't there, and just simply not good enough. But look, everyone, therapy for him went quicker than I expected, as it usually
Yeah,
does.
it was quick, yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming on, Charlie. Good to have you back.
Yeah, I haven't sat in one of these seats, I don't think, we're talking a long time.
It's been long.
But no, I'm ill, so hopefully don't give any of you guys it.
Kev as well, great to have you back as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the earbuds as well from Betis. I've cleaned my ears out and I can't believe what I've heard today. It's absolutely insane. My head is absolutely battered, but another great forum. At least we can... I don't think we took too many positives, but we've sat here, we've dissected it as usual.
Just have a laugh,
and it's nice to actually go out of here smiling and
Yeah, it does what it is.
Glass of red wine later and I'll be sound.
Exactly. I mean, Ricky, you missed your wife's birthday dinner to be here. True story, everyone. And that is the commitment he shows, and that's what it is. It's not a forum. Well, it is a forum.
You old romantic, you.
You always add a bit of spice to it, don't you? But anyway, thank you everyone for coming on, and thank you everyone for watching as well, and thanks for all the super chats and the chats that were put in. We really appreciate the support. Obviously, after a loss like that, it's hard to take, and we talk about it together, and it's good to kind of get the opinions out there and just discuss it. It's great. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you have your say in the comments as well. Get in the comments down below. Are you nervous about Brentford top 4? Are you nervous about that? I mean, we didn't even touch on that, but shows coming up in the week, we'll bring that to you. But thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one.